Welcome to the Brent Gove podcast with co-host Eric Lofholm. We are building 1 million agents in 100 countries in 10 years. Now, here's your host, Brent Gove.
Hi, this is Eric Lofholm. I want to welcome all of you to the Brent Gove podcast. I've got another fantastic guest lined up for you today. Today, I'm joined by Fidel Moralez. Fidel is a real estate agent down in Solano County, and one of the things that he is really great at, which is what we're going to talk about today, is doing in-person live events. And this is a strategy that Brent has used. He does them up in Placer County, California. Fidel does them in his office. He also does them in Solano County, in the area that he's in. And so, Fidel, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's happening, Eric? Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be on today.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about your background? When did you get involved in EXP?
I have been in EXP now, I want to say 5 years. So to be exact, came on board November 1st of 2018.
Excellent. And one of the things that you and your partners do is you guys are the number one provider of real estate education in your community. And can you speak to at what point in your EXP journey did you decide that you wanted to build a team?
You know, I would say pretty early on. I would say the first year to 2 years, I was kicking the idea around. I seen the value in it and what it would do. I love to help people, and I know that putting together a team and supporting agents and helping them with their business and helping grow an organization for themselves was something that I was really passionate about. So I just had to get connected with the right folks. And when I did, then they had the same mindset as I did. I'm like, okay, I have a nice nucleus here. Let's start building. So relatively early on, within the first probably year or two.
Excellent. And at what point did you decide that you wanted events to be a core part of your strategy?
It's got to be when I started to see and join the Brent Gove events. I mean, we took a big playbook off of Brent Gove, and when I seen the effect it had and the value that it brought, and the speakers and what value they provided during these events, it really motivated me and got me inspired. And I'm like, you know what better thing can you do than to add so much value to our profession? It's so important because in real estate, like a lot of other professions like technology, you got to stay up to par with what's going on, all the changes. With real estate, same thing. There's a lot of important things that happen in this business. So we always have to stay educated. Things change a lot. So I was like, you know what? Let me be a part of what Brent's doing and also just try to bring that kind of energy and that kind of value out to my neck of the woods here in Solano County.
Excellent. Do you remember your first event that you ever did?
Let's see. I want to say I think we may have done a business mixer. Mm-hmm. So what we wanted to do is really just connect with a lot of the folks because I'm big on networking and connecting with a lot of folks in the community. So me and my guys and our team, we thought, you know what, let's get everybody together. Let's host an event at our office downtown in Vacaville, and let's just invite all the business owners to come together and mingle and network. And that was probably the first one that we did.
Yeah. And some people that are with EXP, they work from home. You guys happen to have an office. When you got the office, was holding events there part of the vision, or did that come after you got the office?
Definitely part of the vision. Yeah, we were, we thought to ourselves, you know what, we need to get a space here. Number one, so the agents that come on board have a place to tap into, to meet clients. Of course, the model, the EXP, they have 3,000 offices worldwide, right, with the use of Regis centers and spaces. However, we wanted something in our vicinity of Solano County where agents can tap into and meet their clients and all that good stuff. So yeah, but that was the big premise of it too, was a place to actually hold events.
And prior to that first event there, had you ever done your own events in, previous part of your career? prior to real estate?
Oh, good question. Let's see. You know what? I've had some events before. Yeah, because prior to real estate sales, I was a regional IT manager for Northern California for a title company. And for that company, I overseen a department. So yes, I used to kind of get the folks in my department and members of the title company together, for events and just to camaraderie and I like the vibe. I've always been a big in the connector. I'd say I like to have that role as a connector.
Excellent. And let's talk about some of the different kinds of events that you have done. So you mentioned about the networking event. That was the first event that you did. And what's another example of an event that you've done?
So we grew to the point of starting off with one event every bi-monthly or every quarter. We wanted to have something, and we wanted to build up from there and be more consistent and have a bigger stronghold on bringing people together. So I think the first one was the mixer, and then after that it was a workshop. We are based off of it might have been lead generation within our internal team, and we said, hey, let's get together, come to the office, bring our internal team in here, have some good atmosphere, some food, and be amongst each other and do some leads generation and things of that nature. So I would say that was the first thing we started doing was some workshops.
Okay. So that was internally for your team. And then at some point it expanded where it became an agent attraction strategy where your team would go out into the community and invite other agents. And so give us an example of one of those that you did.
Sure. So I'll piggyback off of that initial question and the workshops that we had. So once we started doing them internally within our own team, then we started to reach out to friends of ours, of other agents, our peers in different brokerages and saying, hey, this is open to everybody. You guys that were coming in on this day from this time frame and tap in with us. We're having a good time. We're all calling together. We're sharing, strategies and tips on what works for us. So we started reaching out and kind of like extending the olive branch to other agents, peers from all over, from different brokerages. And then folks would tap in and they would join us. And then from that point, I think it was from going to one of Brent's events, we were inspired by the speakers that he had and the education they were bringing. And I said, we need to do the same thing. We need to have a speaker, pick a topic that is really important in our field and do it that way. So that's kind of like what spearheaded it was the workshops. Then from there, we started reaching out to our peers. They would take part of it. And then we ended up doing an event that was for the greater good. I think we might even did one of the first ones too, Eric, if I was dig back in my memory files, which was huge for us, was the opportunity to work with you. We had a business planning clinic, and that was huge.
I remember that. We did a couple of them. One was not at your office. It was at like a workspace. And I think you even brought food in, maybe a vendor brought food in, or you guys provided a meal. I think that was the first one. And then the second one, and my memory is not 100% clear on this, but I think the second one was actually at your location. And so we did it at your office, and you invited, if my memory is right, you invited other agents, not just your own. You invited your team plus other agents in the community. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And the event that you were graciously able to be a part of was our first big event, actually, because it was, not as frequent as we'd like, but we had to kind of dip our toe in the water, right? And kind of get the flow going and figure out the best way to do it. Try to model, what Brent's doing up in the Placer County area. And we started getting a little bit of traction and through the mixers and the workshops. And then the first business planning clinic with you was kind of our big one that kind of helped us get over the hump when it comes to having bigger audiences, being able to help more people and to provide more value. And that you knocked it out the park, man. That was huge.
Yeah. And what would be like a large attendance for the events that you've done, what would you consider a large attendance?
We were holding a lot of our events locally in our office, and comfortably in our office downtown Vacaville, it's about 100 people. We can hold about 100 people, and it's pretty tight. But the way we have our furniture set up, if we were just to have rows of chairs, we could probably put in maybe 110. But we have big tables and things. So good size ones for locally in our office is about 75 to 85 people, and it's pretty packed in our
Yeah.
space.
And on the marketing side, like what are some of the things that you do, whether it's flyers or social media or Eventbrite? Like what are some of the things you do to get the word out to get those people to come?
Yeah, absolutely. What we really focus on is trying to have a good game plan, strategy, and giving us enough time to prepare accordingly. And it has to do with putting together our Canva, our flyers, designing those, putting together some graphics and visuals for social media, getting our dates and everything lined up, our speakers. And once we have all the particulars dialed in, and we like to start off at least 30 days prior to the actual event date, and tap into kind of our core amount of people that are going to help spearhead this, and reach out to the team, reach out to people in their networking groups, because we also belong to a handful of local like chambers, our local chamber, our local ARIA chapters, the Hispanic chamber chapters. So, but that's essentially what we did. We prepare, and then we would have a core amount of us, about 3 to 5 of us, to help get the word out and start incrementally putting it out there on social media, email blast campaigns, Eventbrite registration links. So yeah, it's just a culmination of a bunch of different things that we do to get the word out.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about some of the vendors, because I think you've had either title or lenders or financial services folks. Can you talk about some of the people that have partnered with you, whether they're helping provide food or they're paying a sponsor fee, however you do it? Talk a little bit about that.
For sure, yeah. Sponsors and strategic partners, they're priceless. They're invaluable. They're great because we work with them. Like, for example, First American Home Warranty, our lenders. So we have home warranty specialist, NHD specialist, a lot of different lender partners, also some trades folks, some contractor companies, roofing companies. A lot of these folks that we already work with and have a relationship with, we tap them in, and it's just a lot of synergy because they get some great exposure, and they help us out with the food, that sometimes, or if we're renting at a venue, they'll take part in helping out with the venue and a lot of different things. But those are strategic partners are invaluable to have.
Excellent. And let's talk for a moment about virtual events, because it started off with the focus being in person, and you still do those in-person events, but now you also do some virtual events. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the virtual events are huge, and I mean, you have such a larger reach, and you can have them more frequently by doing the virtual events. So, and you helped us bring that idea to the finish line with the value that it does. So we're trying to mix up. Last year, we really got our flow. We were doing between 1 to 3 events a month. And if you're doing them all in person, I mean, that's a full-time job, right? To have to do, that many events each month. But when we implemented and integrated the virtual part of it, now we were able to do it and be consistent, have a much wider reach. So yeah, I want to say we started getting the virtual events going mid last year is when we started implementing those. And they've been great. They've been amazing. And now moving forward, that's just a main staple of when we do events. We want to mix it up and have some in-person events mixed in with virtual, and then a really big event once a quarter.
Yeah, and one of the visions that Brent has up in Placer County is that Brent and the team are the leading provider of real estate education in Placer County. And they do live events at the board of realtors. And I know that's something that you guys have also modeled, that vision of being the leading provider of real estate education in your community. And it's something interesting for all of you that are listening. If you created this is a long game strategy to really make an impact in your community. But could you talk about that recent event where you were able to work in partnership with the board to put that event on?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like now that we've cracked the seal, because that was eventually going to be the goal, was to start having more events, if not majority of the events, at our local realtor association. And that's such a big part of it now, because while we still pack the house locally in our office here, you'll still have the turnout could be bigger, because sometimes agents feel like if it's very specific and you're going to an actual broker's specific office, there's something about it to where they feel like maybe I shouldn't be going to that specific office because I'm over here, right? And when you have it at the local association, it feels more neutral. It feels more like a landing space to where people feel more comfortable to go there. And now that we had a great success, I mean, we packed the house. It was full. We had a great spread. The content was amazing. The speakers were amazing. And now moving forward, I want to say we're going to have probably majority of our in-person events will be at the association. We just had to get up to the point where we can build up to there and kind of like get our stripes, so to speak, locally in our office. And then now that we've cracked that seal, like I said, we see the value in it, and moving forward, we're going to do nothing but that with virtual.
And talk about the speaker lineup at the event at the board, because I was one of the speakers, and I'm not saying this because I was one of the speakers. I mean, I am an international trainer and I brought my expertise, but in addition to me, you had some incredible speakers. So speak about that lineup that you guys put together.
Absolutely. And it was value packed, especially with the temperature that's going on right now, post NAR settlement, which was August 17th. There's a lot of different changes came into effect. And it's, changed up how us real estate professionals are navigating our business moving forward. So it seemed like the great opportunity to have an event and you were amazing, because you were our keynote that talked about buyer scripts and the value it brings now, because we need to implement that and show our value with buyers more than ever before. And so that opening up with that alone was huge, because a lot of agents that didn't have to negotiate their commission before, they're not exactly comfortable or how they're going to go about showing value and how to speak to their buyer clients when having to say, hey, this is the new ways of how it works moving forward. So you covering that was like the baseline. And then followed by that we had the California Association of Realtors, one of their regional directors, he came and spoke about all the changes in our CAR forms, with our RPA, a residential purchase agreement. There's a lot of changes post August 17th of this year that they added in, made changes to, that actually was pretty cool, because both of the speakers that I'm going to mention, they talked about stuff that was fresh and hot off the press. They haven't even talked about yet, about upcoming changes. So we had the CAR Forms representative there, and we also had our local Barry's MLS. They were also there to kind of talk about what's different in our MLS that we log into to list our homes and to search homes. So, I mean, the lineup was fire, man. And we got nothing but praise on the education that was provided that day. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. So for all of you listening, think about, if you wanted to do this play, it's taking a page out of the Brent Gove playbook and becoming the premier, the leader of real estate education in your community, partnering with the board, going and getting world-class speakers, and think about the value that you would be bringing your community by bringing this powerful real estate education. And that's what Global Elite Team is doing. And Global Elite Team is Miguel and Fidel and Brandon The three of them work together to put these events on. And I was a speaker. I've been a speaker a few times for the Global Elite Team, both virtually and in person. And so if you're listening to this, if you are looking for a speaker, feel free to reach out to me. I'll speak for you at no cost, as long as I'm available virtually. If it's in person, if it's out of California, we'd have to have a conversation, but virtually I'd be happy to do it for free. And you can get amazing speakers like what Global Elite Team did at this last event, and really position yourself as a leader in your community. Let's talk, as a final thought, than anything else you want to share. Let's talk about the database. So how do people register? And then when people registered, you use that registration list to invite to the next event? How do you guys do that?
Oh, absolutely. So a big part of it is our Eventbrite link. So on our graphics that we do social media, we always make sure that that link is there. Also, in the description of our social media posts, we have a linkable area where they can register there. And based off of everybody who registers, we have an email database list that we keep. And we always get feedback like, hey, how was the event? And usually, actually, most of the time, everybody wants to stay advised on future events coming up. So every time we have a new event, that list keeps growing and growing. And we make sure that what we do is we blast that out every time we have a new event with all those folks, and majority of them, they come to the next event. Another thing that we try to do that I feel is different. Here's something that I think happens, and this is through my experience. You go to an amazing event, you're fired up, right? You're taking a lot of notes, and then you leave that event. And once you step out that door and life happens again, all that great stuff seems to slowly dissipate. You know what I mean? A little bit at a time, just by itself. So, and I realized that, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what we should do, our team was thinking about, every Monday we have a production team mastermind. So what we do is, let's say we have an event on a Friday, then on that Friday after that, on Saturday, we send out an email and we reach out to everybody and say, hope you enjoyed the event, and we try to get some feedback and any takeaways that they got. And then we invite them to our Monday call. And then our Monday call is a recap of that event, the previous Friday. And what we do on that Monday is we have an open forum where we talk about, hey, what were some of your takeaways and things that you can implement from that event moving forward? And I feel like that helps cement a lot of the things that we learned so they don't dissipate and go away. And then following that Monday call, we set up a workshop that they can tap into and actually get those things that they took away and integrate those and actually take action in their business. So it's kind of a succession event, follow up the next day with some feedback, with an invite to that Monday, and then with that Monday recap, share takeaways, and then set up a workshop after that. So we don't want all that good information to go by the wayside. So that's something that we're passionate about because, that happens too much, right? You can probably attest to that. People get a lot of great information, but it's like, what are you going to do with it afterwards?
Fantastic content, Fidel. What I love about our topic today, unique content. This is not a commonly talked about strategy on this podcast or really anywhere else. And somebody that's listening to this, they may get fired up, like when Global Elite Team saw what Brent was doing and said, hey, let's bring that strategy to our community. And there may be somebody listening right now in Texas or in Florida or in Maine or in Illinois or Washington, and they're listening to this and going, wow, I never thought about being the premier real estate education provider in my community. Let me team up with the board. Let me implement this. And the next thing you know, from your ideas here, Fidel, that you're sharing, that you learned from Brent, and then the way you guys developed it, they get fired up and it ends up being a game changer. And they literally make $1 million in rev share or in increased commissions from what it is that they learned. I mean, that's a very realistic possibility for one or more people listening to this. And any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up today, Fidel?
I couldn't agree with you more, Eric. It's very rewarding too. I like to call it giver's gain. The saying in life, right? The more people you're able to help, the more you're going to be closer to your goals that you're trying to achieve. And that's, you give, and that's what happens by sheer organically. You start getting more relationships, you build more friendships and relationships, and you're helping our industry stay educated, and through that a lot of good stuff comes back. So anybody listening in, highly recommend, if it's been on your mind to get it going, definitely start the process, start small, learn from it and grow from there. And once you got it going, just keep your head in the game, keep doing it, because consistency is what builds momentum, and that momentum expands as long as you can stay with it. So yeah, thanks, Eric, for the opportunity to share all this information today.
Excellent. And as I wrap up most of the podcasts, I encourage you to listen to the recording of this podcast multiple times to put these great ideas that Fidel shared with you today into your subconscious. And please share the podcast with your organization and with your team so they too can benefit from the great ideas that were shared today. That's going to wrap up another great edition of the Brent Gove podcast. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here's the deal. We have incredible information, video content on my YouTube channel. Go over there and make sure you subscribe. And it's vital that you ring the bell. If you ring that bell every time I put out new content, it's actually going to notify you, and you can get the latest and greatest of what's happening at EXP. Now, don't forget to like me on Facebook, so you can also get that content, and then follow me on Instagram. We're hitting everybody high, low, and in between. We're trying to get the information out there so you can build big businesses, revenue share organizations. So go to YouTube right now. Please subscribe and ring that bell. Like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram. We'll see you out there.